This is a podcast on pyramids of biomass and how we draw them. And this is found at page 94, 95, 96 and 97 of your textbook. So make sure you do use the textbooks in order to work out exactly what needs to be done. Now I'm going to go through an example here of how we might draw a pyramid of biomass. And remember, there's two types of pyramids. The first pyramid is a pyramid of numbers. And pyramids of numbers are very much what they say on the tin. They are how many organisms are there at each trophic level. Now, a trophic level is a level of different organisms that eat each other, like in a food chain. So you have the producers always at the bottom, and they're always plants. Producers are always plants. And then you have the primary consumers and the secondary consumers, and then the tertiary consumers, and sometimes a top predator, which is a quaternary consumer. So we always have a movement up from producers, which are always plants. If your food chain doesn't start with a plant, you've probably made a mistake. Okay, a food chain always starts with a producer, which gets its energy from the sun. Now, when we have a pyramid of numbers, we can have a pyramid that looks like that, because that might be blades of grass, for example, or grass organisms going to sheep, going to foxes, going to wolves. And you would expect there to be a lot more numbers of grass than there are sheep. But, as I've shown you also, you can have a pyramid of numbers which is a little topsy-turvy. For example, if I get rid of this one and I was to do a pyramid of numbers which involved one oak tree only, which then was fed on by 1,000 caterpillars, the bottom would still be a producer, still a plant, the oak tree, but it would be a bit upside down insofar as there's actually a bigger primary consumer trophic level above. And if there are 1,000 caterpillars, this would actually carry on as probably normal here. If we had birds eating the caterpillars, there'd be less birds, and this would go up as normal in a more pyramid shape as a result of not as many birds being able to feed off caterpillars and so on. But we started off with an oak tree at the bottom because it's just one organism. So with pyramid of numbers, you can have something that looks a bit strange and not like a pyramid. And the next thing to talk about is pyramids of biomass. And pyramids of biomass always have this shape. They always start off with the producer, of course, but the producer is always going to have more biomass than the primary consumer. And the primary consumer is always going to have more biomass than the secondary consumer. And the secondary consumer is, you've guessed it, always going to have more biomass than the tertiary consumer. And we need to know why this is. And the key to this is that this is all about energy, and energy being transferred from each trophic level to the next. And it is energy that allows an organism to grow and put mass on. We eat our breakfast, lunch and suppers, and we can grow because we've taken the energy and used it for growth. And therefore, because something can't be made from nothing, if you were to have, 100,000 kilograms of grass, when a sheep, for example, eats grass, first of all, the sheep in a field are not going to be able to eat all of the 100,000 kilograms of grass. There's loads that they won't eat. So you could actually say that the actual amount that they eat might, out of 100,000 kilograms, which has got all that energy in, maybe only 25,000 kilograms. And so all of that grass they haven't eaten has got energy in that hasn't gone to the sheep because they didn't even eat it. And then, if you think about a plant, Look at the way the plant is. The sheep will come along and eat leaves, great, maybe the stem as well, but often they don't eat the roots, and they contain energy. And so not only would the sheep not eat all of the grass, but they wouldn't eat all of the plants of the grass that they did eat. And so some of the energy is lost there. And then when the sheep eats the grass, it's going to try and digest it. But does it digest every single part of the plant, even the stuff it's eaten? No. Poo is that undigested material. And particularly in plants, which has cellulose in, which is very hard to digest, lots of it will come out as poo. But there's a couple of other things we need to know as well. And that is, when an organism eats and takes the nutrients and the energy from, for example, the sheep takes the plant's energy, much of that energy is actually lost and doesn't go into growing the organism. And it's lost in two major ways. The first way is that when you're alive, you need to do things like move. And your cells need to perform their functions. And anything that happens needs energy. Movement needs energy. You know that, I'm sure. And the other thing is that when respiration happens, the process of respiration, which hopefully we should know as glucose plus oxygen goes to CO2 plus water, we get energy released. And this is the energy that I'm talking about that goes to your cells to help with growth and movement and the cellular processes. But have you ever felt a car bonnet after it has been going for a while and stopped? It feels hot, doesn't it? And that is because a car, when it goes, wants to use as much energy from the petrol to move forwards. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Much energy is lost as heat. And this is the same for pretty much any process where there's an energy transfer. And so this energy that's released from respiration, yes, some of it goes to the stuff we want it for growth, for movement and things. But unfortunately, a little bit of it, in fact quite a lot of it, is lost as a waste product, which is heat. And so that's another part of the energy that could have been taken from the plant, which doesn't go into the biomass of the animal. So, it's important to know that when we have a pyramid of biomass, there cannot be a bigger biomass in the above trophic level. And it must always go up in a shape, not exactly like this, but it's going to be